Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, joined today with Josh Minnick, who's about to teach me how to use the tactical cards and all the stuff of 40K 10th edition. So I'm a type of person who, I've read these things. I got the basic understanding of it, but until you actually put it into my hand, I have no idea what's going on there. So we're going to get into this. We're going to get into some 10th edition play. Josh is getting some practice for a GT. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. Turn on the bell for notifications. Get notified on more battle reports and videos such as this one and the post-game wrap-up. Also, check out our list descriptions if you want more detailed description of the armies that we're bringing today. And speaking of the armies we're bringing today, Josh, why don't we jump over in those so we can roll through this, because I got some questions for you as far as missions are concerned.
Sounds good. All right, this is my Chaos Space Marine list I'm bringing to Salt City GT. I'm testing it out with DJ. We've got a Abaddon the Despoiler attached to a unit of Nurgle Terminators. You've got a Master of Possession attached to a unit of Possessed, all Slanesh marked. You've got 2 units of Obliterators, both marked Zinch for the Revival strat. You've got 2 units of Khorne Raptors. These are just there for objectives. They've got plasma pistols. They're marked Khorne so they can smack a little harder. You've got a Venom Crawler marked as Zinch and a Deamons allied amount of Shalaxi, Hellbane, and the Changeling. Both there to help out the rest of the CSM.
All right, here is my Necrons, which if you guys have seen already, I've been teasing the fact that this name of this list is Catan You Feel the Love Tonight. And we're going to try and bring some of this Catan love over across the table. But before we get into those units, let's talk about the non-Catan units in this army. So first of all, I have 3 units of heavy destroyers. 2 of them are 3-man strong. 1 is a 2-man strong unit, just to be able to put some heavy fire downfield and be able to put some pain on some bigger, tougher targets while my slower Catan are moving across the field. Next up, we got 2 Technomancers. One of these guys is going to come with the enhancement, the Sovereign, to be able to give those heavy destroyers +1 to hit. And the other one's going to float around to be able to heal my Catan as they go across the field and get kind of beat up. Last in the non-Catan column is the Canoptic Reanimator, because this beautiful little guy is able to give an additional D3 to anything that activates a reanimation protocol, such as, a Void Dragon or a Nightbringer. Speaking of which, now we'll get into the Catans. We have, first off, we'll go with the named Catans. We have the Deceiver. So the Deceiver was a last-minute add. Originally, I wasn't going to run him, but I want to see how the Masters of Illusion ability actually affects the game. Plus, he has stealth, and honestly, his profile is pretty nasty. He's got some high damage output and quite a bit of attacks. Moving over to the Nightbringer is down from last edition and not being able to just sweep through invulnerable saves, but he still packs a punch. His shooting attack getting 18-inch range is quite a boost, so we'll see how he performs today. And last, and definitely not least of these guys, is the Void Dragon. The Void Dragon is a double-edged sword. He's able to handle infantry and vehicles the same while healing himself and bashing vehicles. I think the Void Dragon is one of the clear-cut winners of the named Catans out of this edition. Also, this wouldn't be a Catan list if I didn't have 2 of the Transcendent Catans. Now, right now, Games Workshop has blessed us with the ability to be able to take enhancements on the Catan. So my ghostly-looking Catan over here is going to have the Albetter, which will mean that it is stealth and cover outside of 12 inches. The Beholder-looking Catan will have the 4-up Feel No Pain coming from the Centripetal Weave. So we'll see how that, I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Seems like it might be an oversight by Games Workshop. We'll see how it does. All right, so like I said it before, I have not gotten the chance to actually use the tactical cards and the data cards and stuff like that. So right now off this matchup, are you going to be going with the fixed format, which is you picking 2 secondaries before the battle, or drawing randomly throughout the game?
So I'm going to go with tactical, DJ, because you have to basically build your list for fixed missions, and because you never know what your opponent's going to have. And a lot of those fixed missions, you don't get the full 15 selection like you do in tactical. You're limited to a certain number of fixed missions, so that they've balanced the fact where you can only take a certain number of fixed missions, like I said.
So what compels you now in this matchup? I do have a lot of characters, and they're bigger characters too. So where's your mindset with that? Looking at those characters and deciding to not just go bam, assassinate. Is it that second secondary that
it is the second secondary?
Because they
can't guarantee another one, and you're asking me to table your list for my full 20 points.
Right. And that's not, I mean, not necessarily, I have to come at you. So if we're going to be in each other's faces,
Yeah.
you do have some combat, a lot of combat as well. So it's not impossible, but it's not the way that you want, it's not the probability you want to base behind it.
No,
Catan are still tough.
I definitely want to give myself the out that if I can't kill you and it's going south, to just go run onto an objective and maybe still win the game.
Right. So, and that's nice because with the scoring, as well as the fact you don't get that additional command point for discarding a card if you're fixed.
Nope.
And in some scenarios, like for my list, I have no additional way of generating command points outside of the one that I get per or per player turn. That's the only one I get.
I do in via Abaddon every time he completes a pact, and that entices me to want to take it. But like I said, if I'm guaranteeing to table you, then if I'm asked to guarantee to table you to score my points, that's very difficult. And the other aspect of tactical missions I like is that your opponent doesn't know just as much as you don't know what's going to happen next turn.
Right. So with the tactical missions and being able to play around on the field, what you have some with the Raptors do have the speed to be able to move around the field quickly and stuff like that. Are there any other things that have that really insane speed, like of hidden abilities to get around the field?
Not innate abilities. I just have a lot of good deep strike units. Other than that, we're just shooting, moving, and fighting.
Now, for me, I have the Transcendent Catans. If you're not familiar with those guys are able to, instead of advancing, but it is still an advance, so I can't charge afterwards. Yep. It is still an advance. They can pick up and redeploy anywhere on the field 9 inches away. And one thing to note, these are all questions you want to ask with your opponent before that game begins. Like what they have, what these things do, can they move, what's their speed in these certain aspects, and make sure that you're asking these things. These are very important things across the game. And try to also inform your opponent, as I did, to let him know as well. When I'm asking the question, I'm asking the question because it's something that I have in my list to make sure it's available so that both of you can have a good, clean, competitive game.
Oh, yeah.
So, as I've asked before, Mr. Minnick, can you feel the love tonight?
I can, buddy.
You're about to feel a bunch of love. So
we'll find out.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring my giant dice on the table to decide who is the attacker and defender, so we're just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is a roll-off or roll one dice and do it. Oh, Josh, you got the two? You got the two? All right.
Lose the smallest dice.
So we're going to roll these, and we're going to have to announce these because they're the tiniest dice we find. All right, so I will roll first. I got a 5. Josh, you're looking at a 5. We are not starting this off well.
It's going fun.
I got a 6, and here's Josh, a 6. No, a 3.
Okay.
So I will be the attacker in this, and we will be back after deployment.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, we are deployed. So start off here with what I'm doing with the Necrons. So because of my redeploy, I got a little more liberal room on what I want to do with stuff. So I put the heavy destroyers back here to be able to draw some firing lanes down, depending on where Josh decides to go, and just kind of keep that backfield threat. I have my Technomancer over here with the Sovereign to be able to give them the +1 to hit while they're moving around. Now, the 2 Transcendent Catans are going to be able to advance and go wherever I want them to. So that's a nice, easy place for them. Just put them in the corner where they can face the least amount of damage, per se, due to the mission deployment, which we'll get over into that in a minute with the kind of the angle that we're set up on. Over here, I'm loaded up with all the tall guys. Canoptic Reanimator is going to be helping the Void Dragon as well as the other Catans to try to move up the field to grab this objective. And this was kind of a counterplay into Josh's deployment because we have this big threatening beast hanging out right over here. So with that being said, Josh, talk to me about what she's doing and what you're looking at with your deployment and everything.
So I don't have redeployments like you do. So I have either side being a powerful threat. As a Shalaxi Hellbane here has a 14-inch move and rerolls everything against your big monsters, while the Forge Fiend on the other side of the map over there has good 36-inch range devastating wounds with rerolls, so he's able to kind of clear a lane on his own or at least pressure it.
Right. So let's talk about the mission real quick while I scan across some of the field. Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on? Let's start off with our deployment for this.
So I'm marrying Salt City's first mission to get a little reps in, and it's going to be Crucible of Battle deployment, which is an angle deployment measured on from corner to halfway up the board, and 5 objectives, 1 in the center, 4 on each of the quarters. You have mission rule for this mission. It's called Sweep and Clear. In this mission, if you control an objective, if you're familiar with the term sticky from last edition,
Oh yeah.
if you hold it at the start of your command phase, you hold it until an opponent takes it. So all of our big monsters are pretty happy to hear that because they don't have to sit around on an objective and can run over and smack each other.
Because who wants to do that?
Yeah. And our primary mission is called Priority Targets. At the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th battle rounds, you can gain 5 VP for each objective held, up to 10 points. And at the end of the battle, you'll get an additional 5 for each you hold, up to 15 points.
Awesome. So one more thing real quick, just to talk about some of the terrain so people understand why we're doing what we're doing and what's going on here. So first of all, Josh's Obliterators are actually not on this top level. They're underneath at the base of it, as well as Abaddon's down there, just to make it easier instead of having to pull models out and moving them, because they're going to end up going through they can just walk through the walls with the runes. All of these buildings, the 4 corner buildings, some of them have base floor windows. Those are considered closed. So the bottom floor of all these buildings is actually completely blocked off and the windows are closed. However, the windows on the 2nd level are there and will be able to be true line of sight. So things like the Reanimator and the Void Dragon can be seen once they jump up on the template. Now, these in the center are actually completely Wiswig. They are what they are. So the windows can be seen through on stuff like that, including with these billboards here, have these holes in the bottom, those grates, those are able to be shot through. And once again, this is to mirror what Josh is going to be going to with Salt City in when is that event?
It's going to be this weekend, July 6th, 7th, 8th. I might have been wrong on that date. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it is 3 rounds Friday, 2 rounds Saturday, 2 rounds Sunday.
Awesome. All right, Josh, there's only one thing left to do. Roll the dice to determine who goes first. So what are you feeling this one? You want to go first or second?
With your redeploys, I don't want to be at the mercy of your attack. I would like to be able to reposition after your redeploys. So I'm going to roll a Tau dice just to disrespect myself.
Oh, man. All right, let's see. And it looks like I will be going first. So now one thing real quick where Josh was mentioning with this, talking about the Deceiver and the Deceiver's ability. So Josh showed me something interesting with the main rule book and how this all works out with the redeploys. And because the Deceiver's ability is a pre-game ability, there's a lot of questions on that this is actually allowed to be used after the unit has deployed. After we determine who has gone first, since we determine who goes first as step number 7, and then resolve all the pre-battle actions. So for worst case scenario in this scenario, Josh requested that I do it and follow that way until we see some FAQs on that. So that's what we're going to be doing. So now that I know I'm going first, I'm going to redeploy in such way, and then we'll come back after my movement phase. All right, so finishing my movement and my redeploy. My redeploy didn't do very much. I just moved the Void Dragon into a better position, so I was able to move him straight forward and get him within 18 inches so I can try to Voltaic Storm these Raptors, just try and get some damage going. And then I went into my movement phase. So I drew my cards, and the cards I got for this were Overwhelming Force was one of them, and Engage on All Fronts. So I spent my command point, dropped Overwhelming Force, and then I got Secured No Man's Land. So to do these, I used my Transcendent Catans. I'm getting crazy with it starting early. I may regret this decision later, but hey, we're here to play 40K. So I moved the Transcendent with the Stealth to center to hold that objective marker to get one of the ones in No Man's Land. And then my other Transcendent Catan, the one with the Feel No Pain, scoot over here to try and pick on some of these Possessed over here. So I'm going to get a good amount of secondary points out of the turn at least. So I'll start that part off good. And let's do some shooting and see how this all shakes out. All right, so the Void Dragon was able to pick up 3 out of the Raptors very, very nicely. And over here with the Transcendent Catan, he only damaged one of the Possessed over here, so not as much success out of him over there, sadly. But as far as the game's points are concerned, I will score 3 on Engage on All Fronts because I drew it tactically, so I get that bonus point. And I will score 5 on No Man's Land because I hold these 2 objective markers that are in No Man's Land. And that's going to be it for my turn. Let's see how Josh answers back. All right, so Josh has just finished his movement phase. First of all, talk about your secondaries you got for this. You got Cleanse and Bring It Down. So my Catan are on the menu right now for secondary points. So talk to me, Josh. What are we doing? Starting over here.
This was too many points to give up because you have OC4 and I have OC7 combined, and these raptors were crippled pretty goodly,
They were
pretty
goodly.
goodly. Pretty well by the shooting attack. So now they're going to just try to cleanse, which is an old 9th edition term for action.
Yep.
And we've got some sight lines lined up.
Does that just complete? You don't have to roll that.
As long as I control the objective and they choose to not shoot or fight this turn.
Gotcha.
So we lined up some combi weapons and a Reaper autocannon and a Venom Crawler with full rerolls from Abaddon to try to chip away at the Void Dragon before Shalaxi enters into combat there.
Mm-hmm.
And then over here on this side, I didn't move my Obliterators because they're going to use their once-a-game ability to shoot out of sight.
And again, the Obliterators are actually on the bottom floor.
Mm-hmm. Just for representation so we know where they're at without my opponent having to come around and look every time. The Forge Fiend was wary that Destroyers exist and didn't want to peek his head out around this acrylic base here. So he's just peeked out enough to shoot the Catan, but not get the receiving end of the 48-inch guns.
Right. Since I got all my Destroyers are hanging out back there, waiting for something to pop its head out.
He's possessed. Are going to try to hopefully finish off what the Forge Fiend leaves behind in the menu there of the Catan. Don't think so with that 4-up Feel No Pain relic you've got on him. And I had to kind of give up the middle this turn for that. And some of my primaries next turn, it looks like.
All right, so let's get over into your shooting phase and see what we can have happen. So not too good of luck on the Catans for their defenses. They got really beat up this turn. Starting over here with the Transcendent Catan, he's down all the way to 3 wounds. The Feel No Pain was not able to keep him alive for me. And this is not a testament to that ability. My dice were really, really rough this turn on saves. Josh did try to blow up his own Forge Fiend, though, by shooting at me. So there was a lot of damage coming in there. It's just my dice were absolutely horrible. Over here, the Obliterators fired from, used their once per game out of line of sight ability to shoot, and were able to put a lot of wounds on him, which once again, I could not, I had, what was it, you had 8 wounds, and I saved. I think
you only had to take 7 saves, and you decided to fill 4?
Everything. And then over here, now the Void Dragon, it was a little more realistic. There was just a lot hitting the Void Dragon over here from downwind, from the Venom Crawler, and she was smacking me with a whip. So that was kind of rough. We're going to get over into the combat step and see how this goes. All right, so the Void Dragon is gone. She was able to take him down, which I expected I was going to lose the Catan over there. And the Void Dragon is a juicy target. So now it's going to be up to the Nightbringer and the Deceiver to try to change the realm over there. However, over here, my Catan is alive with 1 wound remaining. Turned around and was able to pick up 2 of them, and then the Dark Pact finished off the one guy was beat up on 1.
Not all gifts are free.
Exactly. So still got a Catan left over there. We'll see what we can do with him and maybe run him out of there. He does not heal because he does not have reanimation, but he could heal off of a Technomancer if I can get the Technomancer close enough. So Josh is going to score 6 points on his turn. 3 for Bring It Down.
7, actually.
And it was 7. Yep. 7, actually.
Bring It Down scores 1 additional point if you're in tactical.
Cool. So he's going to score 7 points to the 8 that I got because of Bring It Down. And he was able to cleanse this objective over here. So now we'll move over into the Necron's turn 2. All right, so this is going to be an interesting turn. We're going to see if some of these weapons that I put in can actually be effective at what I wanted to work with. So looking at the line of sight, because what is her name?
Shalaxi Hellbane.
So Shlacken over there is, we're going to put all 3 of the heavy destroyers right into her. And due to the Sovereign, I will be able to hit on 2s, and I reroll 1s just because that's what destroyers do when firing that gun at monsters or vehicles. Down here, we will also be shooting at these 3 last possessed, and I'm going to try and take them out with the long-range cannons, as opposed to staying in combat and all that stuff and possibly losing the Catan.
Overwatch.
Now, what happened over here, and this was really risky, and it was back and forth between me and Josh on what to do and how to do it. I moved out of combat, and at the point of me starting my movement, that was when Josh decided to elect to Overwatch with this guy, this Forge Fiend. And yeah, it was, I was scared. Fortunately, as you can tell, the Catan is still alive because Josh was not able to convert on that and instead beat himself up. Now he's down to only 6 wounds. That's going to be an easy picking for one destroyer if he ever decides to pop his head out. So I am going to keep my Catan in the center over here and just leave her there alone, because my secondaries for this turn were Area Denial and Bring It Down. So right off rip, I just score 5 points by just standing there. So that's a really good job for her. That's a lot of points she's getting on secondaries. So if she dies later on, I'm not too worried about it. Over here, well, Catans are going to get ready to try and give me that Bring It Down point with the help of the heavy destroyers. So now we're going to move over into the shooting phase and see what we can do. All right, so we made up for a terrible save turn for myself by picking up the Possessed right here with these heavy destroyers. Josh decided to just not make any saves, any feel no pains, anything at all. So I went 3 for 3 on the guys over there. But where the true magic happened was over here, and it was all Nightbringer all day, where the Nightbringer hit hard for 2 shots from its Gaze of Death, and he mean mugged for 15 damage at the end of it when we resolved. So now we got 5 wounds left on Schlacken here, and we're gonna schmack Schlack. I take every negative thing I've ever said about the Nightbringer back. He's still just as mean as he's always been, as he was able to pick up Slacken all by himself, finish off, and score me some Bring It Down points. So basically the tail of the tape is I will score 6 points off Bring It Down just on that one kill. And then over here, since I still control the center and I'm right there in the middle all by myself, I'm going to get 5 points for the turn on top of the 10 points I scored on primary for holding these 2 objectives over here. Josh is going to be only scoring 5 on his primary, and we are going to move over into his movement phase. All right, so Josh's secondaries pretty much dictated how he was going to run this turn. Josh, what are the name of those secondaries you got?
Overwhelming Force and Assassination.
So, yeah, these 2 Catans are probably going to be going to the bench here very soon, since he wants to kill some characters, and, well, guess what? They are both characters. Josh moved up the Mauler Fiend, the Forge Fiend, to be able to potentially tank shock this last wound off of him if he needs to be, and also be able to get on that objective. But more or less, he just wants to eliminate these 2 Catans on the objective. Abaddon friends came running out to the middle, and the Raptors left hanging out over by the Catans to go in the middle and help out too. So, and the Deep Strikers, the Raptors, did Deep Strike down in here to help reinforce the plan on this objective, as well as the other Obliterators landing here to make sure that this Catan goes away. So let's see how this works out for him. So I feel like I should say abracadabra here, and poof, Catan's vanished. So the Obliterators, I made them work for it. There were some dice. Dropping this one down to 1, it took the last Obliterator squad using its 2nd round of indirect fire. The new one that came in used its once per game indirect fire, so it could put shots on both of the Catans. And he was able to pick them up, but man, it was some work. And then the Forge Fiend found his day and just cleared all the locusts to the number, the locust heavy to the exact number. So this is going to end out Josh's turn. What'd you get for points, Josh?
I got 5 on Assassinate and 5 on Overwhelming Force because I killed 1 or more character and destroyed 2 units on an objective.
All right. So now it's going to go over into the Necron turn. A lot of our offense is pushed, but we'll see what we still got a lot of army to make stuff happen with. All right, so I just finished my movement phase, and we brought both of the Catans out over here. I got some options here where the Nightbringer can try and do a little bit of extra damage going into Abaddon and friends, and the Deceiver having precision and the damn precision anti-character might be able to put some hurting on Abaddon and make him rethink some decisions. Fortunately for Josh and unfortunately for me, these Locust Heavies might be the ones that have to remove the Raptors in the middle, as these Locust Heavies over here are going to have to shoot down and try and take out the smaller Fiend. My secondaries for this round are Cleanse and No Prisoners. So the Technomancer that was hanging out over with the Catans over here behind the wall, he's going to be the one who's going to try and complete that action over there for me on the objective I control, score those points for me. But I'm not going to be able to pick up another one, and we're just going to do some shooting and try and pick up some units. All right, so the Destroyers failed at this point in time, and we're not able to do it. Josh threw the 5-up invuln, and the Forge Fiend is still alive with 6 wounds remaining. Over here in the middle, we had to dedicate a lot of more weird weapons to make sure I took out the Raptors, with the Nightbringer killing 1 because of, wounds and stuff like that and not being devastating. And the heavy destroyers that I moved up into the building were actually the ones that were able to finish off that last guy in there because I needed to score those points. Josh decided to spend his 1 command point to make it so that I could only hit this unit 1 time with 1 unit, and the 1 unit I decided to hit it with was the Deceiver, to try to put some wounds on Abaddon and start making him think about things. So that's going to end my turn. I'm going to get 2 points on the no prisoners because I killed the 1 unit, and I'm going to get 3 points on the cleanse because I completed it over here with my Technomancer. And we're going to move over to the bottom of 3 in Josh's turn. All right, Josh, talk to me about the secondaries you got, because there's a shift. Your entire army went from going this way to now it's kind of the tidal wave is going over here right into the Nightbringer and the Deceiver.
I decided, instead of avoiding you, let's just have a brawl. So I picked up, right off the top of the cards, a tempting target, and it was obvious which one DJ was going to pick. He's going to pick the one loaded up with Star Gods. And I looked at it, thought about getting rid of it, but, that's a gamble it's worth taking. I'm going to go for it. Because if I can push him off of that objective, that also just takes most of his army out. So it's a gamble, and it's a pact for the Dark Gods.
Alrighty. So we're going to see also in Josh's movement, I did attempt an Overwatch. I had 3 CP, so I figured spend 1 and try an Overwatch. And I tried with the Nightbringer, see if I couldn't pound a Terminator. Unfortunately, that was a no. So now we're going to go into Josh's shooting phase.
I also grabbed Engage on All Fronts.
Oh, that's
the other reason I decided to go for the tempting target. That charge will be the only way I'll make it past that line.
Got it. All right, well, let's see how this plays out. So Abaddon and friends were able to pick up the Nightbringer. So much power behind the 5-ups for sustained hits, devastating wounds, lethal hits, and just so many different mechanics that were able to take him out. The Deceiver is sitting down at 7 wounds right now at this moment, so we'll see how that plays into it because he's going to try and charge me, and we'll see if he can survive through it. Oh, the Mauler Fiend was the one, the Forge Fiend back there was the one that was able to finish off the Nightbringer. So now we're going to go over into Josh's charge phase and see how this resolves. Sadly, now the last of my Catans has been removed. Abaddon came in a whooping and a walloping and just ripped the Deceiver down. So if anyone's wondering if Abaddon can do work, the answer is yes. So now we're in a little bit of trouble here as I'm out of Catans. Josh, what did you score for this turn on secondaries?
I did take the tempting target for 5 and Engage on All Fronts for 3 table quarters.
All right, so it's going to come over to me. I'm only going to be able to get 5 points on my... actually, no, I will still get... Nope, because you took this objective with the Raptors, didn't you?
And the center one with the...
Yeah, so you knocked off the sticky objective. So I will only get 5 for my turn. Let's see what else I can do. This is a top of 4. Oh, before we get into the top 4, one thing. This would be the time that we would be declaring if we were going with the gambits or not. And I'm not, and I don't believe Josh is either. We're not doing any gambits, so we are going to continue as planned. All right, so not much for my turn here. Pretty simple. I move forward with these guys. I spent a command point so I could advance, re-roll the advance, and turn their heavy weapons on the Locust into assault and shoot at the Changeling in the middle. So many rules were in there to try and stop me, but was able to get through and kill him. Josh is going to go over those in just a second. Over here, the Reanimator just fell back out of combat, so that Josh has to actually go and try and kill him and not just give him a free kill. And then making some rushes on the middle with some other guys. Shot long way with these guys. Was only able to pick up 1 of the Obliterators over there, which means Josh is going to spend a command point and just bring the guy back. And so, yeah. As far as secondaries, I got Assassinate and Deploy Teleport Homers. Without being able to score Deploy Teleport Homers, I discarded for a command point, and I will score Assassinate for 5 points on top of my 5 for primary I got at the beginning of the turn. So, now that Changecaster, let's talk about him a little bit.
So the Changeling, it has lone operative, so when you're outside of 12 inches, you just can't target them.
Which is why I had to advance.
And then at the start of the opponent's shooting phase, he picks a unit within 12 inches, so that was important. and rolls a d6. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 5, you'll take a -1 to hit him, or at all that phase. And on a 6, you just can't shoot with that unit the whole phase. So I rolled, got a 3, so they're -1 to hit. Then, once you target the changeling itself, you have to make a battle shock test. If you pass, you're able to target the changeling. If you fail, you must choose new targets.
Yep. So that's how that resolved. Now we're going to go over into Josh's turn and see what he can do in response in his turn. All right, so Josh is looking to deploy some teleport homers. So these raptors came out and made it just barely within the deployment zone because we checked it. It's only within, so they're going to be able to deploy teleport homers. And then the obliterators are marching up to possibly do it a second time over here as well. Now, here is the adorable thing that just happened. So I took a chance. I got some command points, and I spent a CP on the Overwatch, hit with 2 of the Locust Destroyers, and removed the Venom Crawler from the field, taking a lot of damage away on that. So now we're going to be moving over into Josh's turn. What was it, Josh?
So I just learned how to read today. Deploy teleport homer will only be one or the other. It's just more VP in the opponent's deployment zone, so the guys in the middle are going to be free.
Okay. So you're just going to be getting the 1 off the Raptors.
Yeah, and it just gives me the full 5.
Okay, awesome. But then, yeah, so now that was nice, though, that the Locusts at least were able to pick up the Venom Crawler, getting 2 6s for lethal hits right through, failed invulns, boom.
It was a really epic moment.
Explodes. Yes, I was didn't think it was going to happen. I was hoping to maybe get just 1 in there and make that thing start thinking about life. But, yeah, got rid of it. So we'll come back after Josh's shooting and see how this all rolls out. All right, so we're going to be wrapping this up real shortly here as my resources are basically depleted. Abaddon and friends decided to rush in there and finish off the Reanimator. And the Obliterators made very short, reliable work on the Locust in the middle. So all I have left is this one little lone Technomancer. And technically I control this objective because it's sticky. So I'm going to draw my cards, see if anything crazy can happen. But I think that we're going to be calling this quits here very soon. All right, so turn 5 kind of just all wrapped up in the same time. Abaddon and friends just stayed over here and hung out and held this objective. As far as my turn, my secondaries I drew they were achievable, yet not. They were achievable for the game purpose, so I had to keep them, but they weren't achievable for the fact that all I had remaining was a Technomancer. And then Josh drew in, and for his secondaries having, what was the one that?
Storm Hostile objective. And it's like Shock Assault was in 9th edition.
Right, what was the other one? The one that you scored in the
Extend
center?
battle lines. All it tells you to do is hold your home objective and at least 1 in No Man's Land to get a full 5.
Right, and you have those, and you have the sticky and everything like that, but it was the Storm Hostile objectives. So the Raptors just came over here. They were slightly short of the objective, so Josh just advanced, putting 2 guys on the objective, 3 in total, being able to out-objective control me, and taking that to the end of the game, giving us a final score of Chaos Space Marines 95, Necrons 69. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned. We will have the post-match talk between me and Josh up here shortly. And yeah, thanks for watching.